Welcome to Blue Tinted Glasses, the home of Leicester City talk on YouTube. Fan debates, live watch-alongs, post-match reactions, and all the Foxes banter you could ask for. Subscribe now and see the game through Blue Tinted Glasses.
Well then, Mahrez has made something of that. It's Mahrez! 2-0 to Leicester City! Next to him, Anthony Kanaka finds Wood. Wood should score! Wood finds Kanaka! Yes! Here comes Leicester again with Heskey and Ibbett! Oh, this is incredible! Got Jamie Vardy with him. Jamie Vardy sets off. Jamie Vardy!
Blue Tinted Glasses, the home of Leicester City talk on YouTube.
Hello, happy Tuesday everyone, and welcome to Blue Tinted Glasses, the source, the number one source on YouTube for all Leicester City fan content, as that amazing intro would say. I'm hosting today, but I'm joined with the usual host of the most. It's the main man from Blue Tinted Glasses, Loxy. How are you doing today?
God, no one's called me Loxy since year 7 at school, mate.
I'll cut it out.
Hey, I don't mind it. It makes me feel even younger. No, all good, mate. All good. Yeah, looking forward to this one because I did a bit of plastic fan, didn't I, last week and the week before. Obviously, we had a loss last week, so I avoided the analysis. Took over, but now we've got a win and a Fatawu goal. I'm back, so yeah, looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Well, yes, it was the last game of pre-season. I'll ask you about what you thought of pre-season in its entirety in a second. But let's just say good evening to everyone. Wow, there's a lot of people here. You can tell that the new season is dawning upon us. So evening to Frankie, Salt, Scott, Kunal, Phil. Do you know what? I'm sorry, I can't say hello to all of you. Good evening, everybody. It's great to have you here on a nice Tuesday. And then before we get into the analysis, let me ask you about this game then, look. So we played Fiorentina. What were your overall thoughts of this game? It was quite enjoyable for us to watch it along.
Yes, absolutely, mate. I said it on Good Morning Fox, or maybe not Good Morning Fox, call-in show last night. You know, I think it's been a very, very productive pre-season with regards to the games, because the first couple of games, it was just more manga hype, right? We were just doing the pure glazing. But, you know, as expected, as soon as Marty came in that first game and then the game since, you can see a lot already. And I know you've been through it many times already on the analysis shows, but there's little to worry about in my eyes. Maybe you'll find a thing or two, but there's little to worry about. And, you know, if Sunday's game hasn't got you excited for the season, then I don't know what will. So
absolutely, it's funny because off the season I think it's been terrible, but to quote Frankie here, it's probably one of the best pre-seasons I can remember in terms of fitness. Bang on, I think that is the biggest thing to say, and progression in terms of play. Zola's asking about Ndidi. If you hang around till the end, we are going to talk about the squad. That is, I think, important news that's been coming out today. Who knows, the transfer maybe even will have been done by the end of the show. But let's get on with it. So, what I wanted to show you today, I talked about this last week in our defeat to Köln. I mean, I think defeats in pre-season aren't even that important, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at the pre-season before we won the title, there wasn't anything spectacular, really. You wouldn't have thought we would win a title of that pre-season. But I would say that this was a really, really good test for Leicester, because even though Fiorentina aren't starting their Serie A for a few weeks, they didn't start with their main team. If you look at the squad values, I mean, this is a serious team, right? It's one of the few times where this team's actually got higher squad value than ours. They finished 6th in Serie A last season. So, you know, we were going against some quality opposition, even if they didn't necessarily start with that team. So that's something to bear in mind. And just to kind of prove it here, this is where they finished last season. I actually didn't realize they finished this high. I do know that they've appointed Stefano Pioli. You might have seen him on the touchline there in the game. Ex-Milan coach, won the title with Milan, broke the hoodoo, first time in 11 years. And they've actually said that their aim this season is to get a Champions League spot. So you can see they're really going for ambition. That's why they've hired them. So yeah, serious outfit to be playing against. Now, this was their team. Now, I do think it is fair. You know, got a good rough and a smooth. They definitely went for a kind of more experimental lineup to begin with. A lot of their star players like Dzeko, Goodmanson, Ranieri, Robin Gosens, who's been linked with Leicester. He finally got to play at the King Power, just not in the way that we thought he would. A lot of them started on the bench, but they still had some good players here. Beltran, I think, looked quite good. Amir Richardson was also linked with Leicester back in the day. Pablo Marie played for Arsenal for a little bit. So it's not like they had, absolute kind of, noobs on the pitch sort of thing. If anything, I think we had more of those younger players starting for our first team. And if we take a look at our lineup, well, let me ask you about this, Locks, because obviously we did the watch along, and let's just say it's a bit of an interesting lineup. And I think you're right to say we had a good performance in this game, but would you have any concerns if this was our starting lineup for the first game against Sheffield Wednesday?
Sorry, did you know, by the way, that Ranieri is Claudio's son?
I did, yeah. I mean, football has got its nepotism in it, just as any other industry. Yeah.
No, I was only saying because it must have been cool for him to come to the KP. He would have been there when he was younger, 10 years ago. When I saw this team, and I'm not the only one, so don't pretend in the chat that you didn't think this way as well. But I think some of the first words that came out my mouth were Skipp, Sumari, Thomas, Chowdhury, Vestergaard. But all in all, I still don't think, I've seen some people speculating this might be his favourite 11. I'm still not sure. However, look, I said it. I put a tweet out when the team news came out. I said, Anil, word for word, this isn't even our strongest 11, and it shits on majority of the championship. So regardless of one or two players here or there, we'd rather not have starting. This lineup, mate, at this level is brilliant. It's quality all over the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with you. I was a little bit disappointed with the lineup. I think the one that I was most disappointed with actually was Vestergaard. The others I could sort of understand, but I think him being in a team for me doesn't represent the future. I do think he will have a part to play this season because I just don't think we can get rid of him. But I was really hoping Ben Nelson would start. He did play later on in the game though. Maybe he's still, marshalling an injury, something like that. We don't know. The rest of the team was interested, but I think it is fair to say that they played well. And I think, the base of the midfield has been an interesting one. He's tried Skipp there. He has tried Booba there. He actually has not really played Winks in that position. So I don't think he is going to play there. But look, the players did play well enough there, which I think is fair enough.
And Anil, can we, by the way, just a side point, can we start a petition on the left-hand side of the screen there, mate? Graphic designers, stop putting the team sheet in that order. What, like in numeric order? It's stupid.
Ridiculous.
Don't do it. Yeah. Even if you don't want to go right back, centre back, left back, at least go defenders first, midfielders, forwards. Don't do it like this, man. Anyway.
Yeah, it just smells of someone who doesn't understand football doing the team sheet there, doesn't it? Which is probably the case. There you go. Before I move on, let me just give a shout out to SSB Entertainment. It says, I thought only Locks doesn't want to mention my name, but I feel very disappointed and Neil does not like me as well. Do you know what it is, Locks? It's because the name's quite long to read out. SSB Entertainment.
SSV Entertainment. You can send me the £10 later for that, mate.
There you go. Right, so let's get into the game. We're going to watch a lot of the clips because that's what's good about right now in pre-season is we're not going to get copyright struck for it. But Marty Ball. So I've been saying this every week since he's been appointed, but I think it's again good to go through this because when we see the clips, you'll hopefully see that all of these things, you can see them all in action. And I think what's even more exciting, as we kind of mentioned at the top of the show, is that game upon game, they're getting better and better at all of these things. And I think that's what's kind of exciting because maybe some of the bits that, some of us talked about chance creation on last night's show. I don't think that was the problem in this game, which we'll cover in a moment. So Marty Ball, he likes to press high. He likes to compact play down one side, and he often switches it over to the other side. Attacking as a unit, I think that's what's really good to see. And the Steve Cooper, you might only see 2 or 3 people going for the attack. Here, you're going to see 5s and 6s. Extensive rotations. We're going to have a bit of a Ted Lasso reference later in the show. Stay tuned for that. Overloading the half spaces by committing extra men forwards. We see that a lot. That's kind of from Enzo Ball. But I think here's the biggest difference of Marty Ball. It's proactive and it's one-touch attacking football. I think that's the thing that we're noticing a lot. The ball is just getting moved a lot faster. And do you know what? Something that surprised me in a good way is that you could hear during this game the crowd getting more and more excited as the game was going on. And we haven't heard that at King Power for a long time. So overall, it's exciting to watch. It does carry risks. But I think as you alluded to, Locks, in the championship, I don't think we're going to see so many of those risks. So One thing I like about the high press is that we actually start games, it seems, really, really quickly, which is quite different, I think, to sort of some of the previous managers. So let's look at this. This is right from the start of the game. This is sort of 30 seconds in. You can already see we're getting bodies forward. Fiorentina already pinned back. That's, Sumare. And just look how high forward a lot of the players are. Here's Okoli here and Vestergaard right stepping into their half, which is great to see. Thomas there on the ball. Here's Bilal now, but I always talk about rotating, and he's obviously spotted the switch ball right over there. By the way, this is the first time we saw Bilal, Mavididi, and Fatawu in the same team together. I felt like we were robbed of that last season. You can look at that. Yeah. Bilal pulls off a shot really early in the half. So, I was excited by that. That's a good start to see, and hopefully that is something we're going to see in games going forward. I think something that maybe we were guilty of with Enzo is we controlled the game early on, but we didn't necessarily look to attack. Whereas I've got a feeling with Marty Ball, he might even be looking to sort of finish off teams as fast as possible so you can start subbing players off, and that'll be able to rest and rotate your players. That's a sort of very Pep sort of style thing to do.
And especially with a fragile King Power Stadium, go in for it from the off is exactly what you need to start the game. They should do that literally from minute one. Marty and the team should make a point of it. First game at home, the fan base are a bit in the down in the dumps because of relegation and off the field stuff. The football that was played last season. Go at Sheffield Wednesday, who are a damaged side on all fronts. Go at them from minute one. Get the atmosphere in that stadium going, and you can ride off that. So the last thing you want to see is, no offense, but what we'd probably see under Enzo is starting the game slow, controlling the ball, maybe being a little bit risk-free. Go for it, man. It's Sheffield Wednesday. They're going to finish bottom of the league, man. Go for it.
Yeah, I think as well with Marty, I mean, I really feel sorry for Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that's happening off the pitch, but they're coming against probably the best squad in the division for game number one. And I also think that this is sort of manager that, let's say we did play Sheffield Wednesday and they do score. Let's say they score within 3 minutes because there's a bozo pass at the back who pass out. He'll still keep attacking. That I feel is the difference. Like, I really respect Enzo and I understand that I think his style overall will be more consistent. But I think Marty, what he's realized, because this is what that dream team did for Barcelona, is that the crowd has an important part to play. And if the crowd is behind you, especially if you're not necessarily the best team in the world, it will actually give you the 12th man. That's a real thing in football, right? When a crowd is absolutely purring, all of a sudden you find that extra 10 yards to run at the end of the game, and that can make the difference. So I'm really excited for it, and we're seeing examples of it already. So we're going to show you like a few clips of the high press. It's so impressive, but impressive, of course. But what's really good about it is that, here's Ayew leading. It's that Skipp, by the way.
Skipp.
You can tell him with the need for the Turkish hair transplant. Look again, boxing in players. He's stuck up high. He's not just retreated back. And look at that. We've forced Fiorentina into kicking it out from touch right away.
Yeah.
And I believe, okay, now this is from a subsequent thing. So we're not just giving it up once. Look again,
straight
pushing
away.
pushing them back. Everyone, look how high up there. Look, Hamza is, Yannick is, Skipp again. Look at this. That's Fatawu gets in.
Wow.
And that fullback had the absolutely torrid time against Abdul Fatawu. And of course, someone asked at the start of the show, is this show just going to be a Fatawu glazing session? You bet your ass it is, because he was absolutely outstanding in this one. So that's there. But I mean, like I say, it keeps going on. So here we're going to start off with another little good opportunity for Leicester. Trying to play it out at Fiorentina. Again, look, Ayew leading the press. He might not be Vardy, but he's doing his job.
Yep.
Horses kicking on. Now, what I like here, this is Skipp. Never seen him win a tackle before. Boom. He actually gets stuck in there. That's Fatawu getting stuck in. I think as well with Fatawu is we will all say that the goal was brilliant, right? But actually, he was brilliant because his off-the-ball work was also absolutely outstanding. He just didn't give the team a chance to rest. He was doing work back and front.
He's always been like that.
Yeah. See, he's combining here with Hamza there. Skipp, here's the triangles we talk about. Ted Lasso reference coming up in a minute. Is Ayew holding the ball up? Doesn't just fall and win the foul. This is a big
now
change.
Look at Hamza.
Exactly. Supporting the attack, inverting in, rotating again. Now we've got options, triangles, pass it back. That's okay. Recycle. We can start again. Are we going to go the other side or are we going to keep going down the other side? Uber pushed up. Fatawu again. And that's what you want him one-on-one against this man. You got no chance, mate. No chance. And look at that. You can see him pull the shirt. We win a corner off that attack.
And that happened so many times. His shirt was ripped at the end of the game.
There you go. This was early on. It's kind of funny because when this first happened, I was like, that just describes the new quality of shirt at Leicester City. Cutting costs everywhere. But to be fair, it's a good-looking kit. You know my stance until I get a public apology to the fans from Leicester as to the lack of communication for 6 months. I don't condone it, but I will say this is actually one of the better ones they made. But there you go. You can see that they were struggling with Fatawu, and the fullback especially was like, okay, this is what it's like to come against a top-class winger. So here's Jordan Ayew's goal. And again, where does this goal come from? And it comes off a press. So we start here with the Fiorentina having a throw-in. Who's leading the press? Again, it's that man, Abdul. Wins the ball back. Wow. There we go. Plays it into the half space. Look, Bilal calls for it. Goes for it. And Ayew's there in the right place. And there's a lot to like about this goal. Now, you could say that maybe this goal's a bit fortuitous, but it shows you just like wanting it more. And, you know, we don't know if Bilal is still going to be here come the end of the window. We suspect he's not, but he's dived in there to win the ball back. There's no need for him to do that. That's really, really good spirit. Fatawu, like I mentioned, didn't look injured at all to me. If I asked you what player on that pitch looked like they just had an ACL, it wouldn't be him. But I don't think it'd be any of the Leicester players.
And Neil, let me tell you, man, I was listening to When You're Smiling this morning in the car, and Owen did an interview with Abdul, and he said to Owen, talk me through your goal. I know we're going to get to it later, but he said, talk me through your goal. And Abdul's words, no word of a liars, it's just what Abdul does. That's what he said. Crazy.
He's referring to himself in the third person, is he? Wow. This is an outstanding display. But look at that, Bilal getting stuck in. And Ayew, look, the defender's kind of falling asleep. It's actually intelligent thinking from him. I think the one thing I don't like about Ayew actually is he doesn't show much emotion. I think if he actually gave it the big one, it'd get the fans behind him more, because we probably are going to sign a striker, right? But I mean, trust me, the way that Ayew's been playing throughout pre-season, he's been one of the best players because he's doing that false nine position. We were watching some of the games. I was going to put it in the analysis. I decided not to. But when he was playing the false nine, at one point, he was deeper than Buba Samare. Him and Buba rotated positions to make spaces. So very impressive. Now, next player I wanted to talk about, just because I don't think we've ever said anything positive about this player on this channel. And that's not our fault. We want to get behind all of our players, right? We like seeing a redemption arc. But Oliver Skipp cost a lot of money, and I think a lot of us indirectly blame him for relegation last season because we felt that we could have signed a better player in that position. Imagine if we'd have signed Liam Delap instead of Oliver Skipp, for example. That would have given us a better chance. But you've got to say, he actually had a very good game this time around. And he has improved game upon game in pre-season. And I think it's encouraging to see that Cifuentes, again, what does a good coach do? They improve players. I think that's a really good way of telling how good a coach is. Here he is again, look, he's getting stuck in, winning the ball there. Something that we don't see too often from him. We'll just see this move through where it goes to, get some more, just what Abdul does there, we can see getting stuck in there. So that was good to see. And we're going to show some more clips of that later on. But I just wanted to touch upon him that he was very good in terms of, it was most physical I've seen him be. I still do have concerns over his physicality, but I think the championship's not going to be a problem. But he was getting involved in attacks, setting people up and combining with other players. And of course, one of the players he combined with, as does everyone, let's get onto it. Let's talk about that goal then. So this, to be honest with you, if you replace this with Leo Messi, it really actually reminds me of the one where Busquets passed it to Messi. Messi beat like 5 players and scored, and Busquets still gets the assist. So you're about to see here the best ever assist from Hamza Chowdhury that he's ever produced in his life. But here you can see again that we're splitting the defenders out. Mad's stepping really far out of goal. That Skipp getting involved. That's gone into Bilal. Back to Okoli, now to Hamza, that dragging players around.
Bam.
Look at that turn. The defenders tried to grab him back, but knows he can't do it. What a check back. And what a finish. Yeah, Skipp joining in in case the goal didn't go in. But we'll watch that again. But I mean, if you haven't, I was posting our reactions on this goal during the watch them. Absolutely incredible. Look at the King Power. They gave him a standing ovation when he got off the pitch. When's the last time we saw a goal that good at the King Power? Can you remember?
Fatawu against Southampton.
Probably.
2 years ago, in the 5-0. Yeah, probably was Fatawu. Yeah, that's a good shout, Elm. I love that goal. Gareth Bale versus Madrid. Versus Barca. Mark Bartra was the defender, but yeah, incredible. And it's the fast twitch, right? He knocks it round, and the touches aren't just. They're smart touches as well. He knows he can get on the end of that, and this one perfectly. Just the right touch on that.
That's first touch, isn't it?
Bam.
Well, it's
incredible.
funny because obviously he is clearly the one that the Mahrez replacement that we've been crying out for about 7 or 8 years now. But what's really outstanding, I think, about Abdul is that let's just watch that again. It's so good. What I think
here
is
and I've got the full screen as well, mate. So I'll play it here. Look, here you go.
Go on,
carry on talking.
No worries. Well, look at that. The first touch is there, left foot, right foot, pace, the physicality, puts it on the check back and scores. So of course the comparisons are there to Mahrez, and this was kind of Mahrez. Mahrez scored a lot of bangers in the top left-hand corner, but I think the difference is I do think Mahrez was more of a magician. I think he was better in tight spaces, but Riyad did not have the physicality that Abdul Fatawu does. And I think that's an element that the winning the ball high up the pitch, which, as I say, we've seen already quite a few times, is something that, well, I think is really exciting to see in the game. Now, that was in the first half. Then later on, I'm just going to play you through some of the other chances that we made. So much good stuff to watch in this game. Very few complaints, if any, from me. So here again, this is the second half. We've made a few subs. So actually, we've rested Abdul, which was the right decision in my mind. We've got Fatawu, and that's Dhaka on. And Dhaka doesn't get enough credit there. Like, he presses, wins the ball back. No. That's Winks. And look at that. What a through ball that is. I think that was
the pace.
Yeah. And that's it. And he's very unlucky not to also join. Go on. Yeah.
I was going to say he's had a good preseason, Casey. He's had a good preseason. He scored a goal as well, I think, in preseason. And I think he's looked positive. 2, yeah, there you go. And, he was unlucky 2 years ago that Abdul Fatawu existed because Casey started that season and, he'd just come from like League One. He was on loan at League One. And I think a lot of us were like, "Oh, bloody hell! Is this really what we're going to have to put up with this, Casey McAteer this season?" But he was incredible. He was so good. I think he scored against Liverpool as well in the Carabao Cup earlier on in the season. But then he was unfortunate because he got injured. Abdul Fatawu came in, and Abdul Fatawu did Abdul Fatawu things, and Casey really didn't have a chance then. But yes, Abdul will be the starter ahead of him this season as well. But we know we have got a more than capable championship winger in Casey McAteer, and he's also very versatile, so it would actually suit this system very well with the rotations and stuff like that. We know he can operate in the middle, we know he can operate at full back, if he needs to. He's done it all before, so that'll be Marty will use that.
It's quite the athlete. Now, I want to show the whole move again because you see all of the good stuff, I think, about the system under Marty and our tactics. That's what the point of today's show is. So there you go. Fiorentina pushed up high themselves. They're trying to build it out. You can see the press. That's Dhaka leading it. Look at how compact and hard it is. Like he had wings to worry about there. That's Bilal. It's a brilliant through ball. Now, this could easily be a goal. But look, after the rebound, who's the one that follows it up? Well, after Dhaka wins it back, it's Bilal again, who played the pass in the first place. And that's another shot on goal. So, okay, now we've got 5 men taking out the game, right? So look at this, trying to swarm to get the ball back. This is really good pressing. Okay, fair play. They found the player in the gap. They're going to play it between lines. Now they've got an opportunity, right? Here we know is a danger spot. So Thomas, he had a bit of a bad time against this fullback, I've got to say. But look at that, Booba getting back. Actually makes the challenge. Don't see that enough of it. And calm under the pressure. And we deal with it. No, he's not just hoofing it. We're trying to play it out of trouble.
Luke Thomas is a
win the goal kick. So that, for me, shows everything that is about how we're going to see the team play, right? The high pressing, the making chances, getting forwards quickly, but also working as a team when things go wrong to cover the ball back quickly and start other attacks. So very good to see. Now, here we're going to see another chance that we generated, and we're going to see quite possibly one of the worst first touches any striker in top level European football's got. But here again, we won the ball back there off a high press. It falls to Winks. Winks is on the pitch now, and he hasn't just reverted to passing it sideways. He's got on his bike. He's going forwards. That is a great through ball. That's an awful first touch. It almost breaks the Casey McAteer, but doesn't quite. But again, the movers and that reaction says it all. And I think the Richard Kone talk will definitely come up for good reason. I think Ayew's done well. I think that if it hadn't been already, that cemented Ayew starting. But that's a great through ball. Dhaka has such a poor first touch. He's like, if he'd just played that deliberately, it would actually have been good. But what he's tried to do is knock it past the keeper, Vardy-esque, and just... I think with him, even though it is the right thing to do, which is to try and take it round the keeper, maybe with Patson Dhaka, you've just got to accept that he's got to just hit it first time.
You just got to accept he's awful and he's got to go, man. Get Richard Coney in now. This is what I'm saying. It's like people say, "Oh, he reminds me of Dhaka." He can't be any worse, and he's got to be better than him, for God's sake. But yeah, this does sum Patson Dhaka up in a nutshell.
Yeah, it does. But I would say, say it's pre-season. What I would say is that the move itself is high quality. Again, that showed breaking from defense to attack, and making a good constructive opportunity. And it just shows you we were worried about chance creation, but we're making loads of chances. We made subs. We were 2-0 up. We weren't resting on the laurels. We were still trying to get a third. Now, maybe one of the poor things is Luke Thomas, like I said, I think especially when they made the change and they got their better wingers and fullbacks on, he did get in trouble here. That was probably a blatant pen, and he got caught quite a few times. Now, I think though, because we're in a championship, it's less likely to be a problem. But that said, I think, if you're up against Ipswich and you got Jaden Philogene against Luke Thomas, I wouldn't be possibly, the obvious Ben. Yeah.
Awful.
So we'll have to see what happens there. But I'm expecting that Victor Christensen's played very little part in pre-season. So it looks like that.
Oh, did you hear the rumour that came out yesterday? We said it on Good Morning Foxes. Apparently, Victor has broken his jaw.
Wow, really?
Yeah, apparently it was a collision in training. Marty said it was a collision in training and he'd be out for some time. But there was a rumour. Somebody was commenting on the stream the other day, yesterday or Sunday, saying that, it was yesterday, saying that that apparently he's broken his jaw. So I think if that's the case, like he will be a while. And then when he does come back, he'll probably be wearing a mask or something like that. He might play better with a mask.
Yeah, because you were able to see... Well, some players, Osimhen, Petr
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
a lot of players have played better with that. So we'll have to see it. Yeah, did Hamza chin him? The only thing I'll say is that that's kind of bad though, because there was a lot of talk of Victor Christensen going. If you look at Everton, they seem to be the team in the Premier League that desperately need players, and I could see them coming in for one or two of our players just because they can get the deal done. We'll have to see what happens there. But all right, there's one more player that I quickly wanted to talk about that I think deserves a lot of praise from everyone. Everyone was really raving about him. That's Caleb Okoli. We've been asking for a long time for him to be part of the first team. As long as he's here, unless he gets bought, he clearly is going to be there. You can see here covering here. That's a fairly poor ball there. But Vestergaard gets caught. You see Okoli there. It's a well-won challenge. Rides it and wins a free kick. So he was strong defensively. He was probably quite at home playing against Fiorentina because obviously he's played against them in Serie A quite a few times. And then we had this move, which I really liked. This, I think, really sums up Marty Ball as well. So this is actually where I think his athleticism really helps. So here's Mads on the ball. You can see Caleb's actually right next to Mads at this point in the attack. Going to play it back there, building out.
Yeah.
That's a good ball. Calm. That's Jordan Ayew there. Has a false 9. Skip on the ball, but then he's going to leave it to Okoli. And now look at Okoli. He knows. Look at that. He can see there's an opportunity there in the ace lock. And look at that. He's the furthest man forward there, bombing on as an attacker. And actually, if anything, we may be a bit guilty of not getting the ball to him fast enough. In the end, we end up winning a corner. So that's really good to see. So, talked about this a few times, but this is the idea of rotating positions. And here's my Ted Lasso reference for all you guys, for all the American fans. If you haven't remembered this episode, here he is talking about the Chicago Bulls. But basically, it's the idea that if a gap appears, one player can join in. And as long as someone else takes up their position, you can do that. So I think if we go back a little bit and have a look at this move again, you'll see that the way that we change positions is that when he goes there, someone will drop in to be a centre-back instead of him in that opportunity. I think in this case, it was probably Oliver Skipp. And of course, that doesn't mean that you're going to have the best players in the best position, but as long as you've got someone there to cover there, you should still have enough spaces. You've seen that the false 9 making space behind. So because Skipp has dropped in, like you see, like him and Winks have actually stopped, not Winks, Bilal swapped position there. And then Bilal's eventually joined the attack. So Bilal's like, there's so many players, you can't even see what's going on. So exciting stuff to see. And look at that end positions. You can see that in the end, Okoli, Ayew, Fatawu, El Khannouss, Mavididi, Skipp was joining attack, someone's filled in. So look out for that. And that, I think, is why I've mentioned a few times that I think we're going to see a lot from our fullbacks, because they're the ones that when we join the attack are going to be ones that are most free. And, actually, Andreas has mentioned a few times he'd like to see Casey McAteer as a fullback. And I think the reason why he suggested that is that if you're the free man and you've got the athleticism, you could join the attack. But that's what I think Hamza will do quite well. It looks like Ricardo's still out of injuries. It'll be interesting to see if he actually comes back into the team, because I think when he was playing in a double pivot next to Harry Winks, that lack of having to go up and down and just control the ball really suited the Ricardo of today, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this sort of position, I think the Ricardo of the past would absolutely excel in it, but I'm not sure about the Ricardo of today being as good. But let's not rule anything out. We don't know Championship, of course, division. But yeah, there you go. Okoli there as centre forward. Nice thing to see. And I don't think it'll be the last time you see it. So this is how the game ended. Actually ended with 50-50 possession. I think we had a lot more before it kind of eased off the big. We only had 2 big chances, which seems wrong to me. I think we got a lot more than that. The Fatawu one wasn't even the chance, probably. Probably had an XG of about -1. But he somehow managed to score a goal. Brilliant effort. But yeah, now that you've seen that, what did you make of it? Because that's against, like I say, a top-class team, big budget. They've got top players. They had David De Gea on the bench. Edin Dzeko came on later. And it was pretty routine against them. Did they ever really look at scoring? I'm not really sure they did.
No, I mean, this is what I'm saying. People keep saying that, the first half, when we scored the 2 goals, it was their weaker side. But then I would say, well, look at the second half. They didn't score, did they? And it was pretty even. They didn't destroy us in that second half, and we made some changes right in the second half too. So I was really impressed with it. And also just on Dodo, the fullback, the right back. I know that Jeremy Monga didn't have his best game, but Dodo is the best fullback Jeremy Monga will face this season. All season,
yeah.
Other than a cup game against Liverpool or something, Dodo will be the best fullback that Jeremy Monga plays against. And same with Mavididi, right? So yeah, 0-0 in that second half against Fiorentina's relative A team. It's a great performance. It's a great result, and Marty must be absolutely buzzing. I think the fans are buzzing as well.
Yeah, if Dhaka didn't have his clown shoes on, it would have been 3-0.
Yeah, totally. And I was going to say, Neil, as well, it's risky playing a bigger team the game before the season starts at home in front of the fans. Because if they smacked us yesterday, which could well have happened, if they smacked us, that puts the fans at a bit of a worry. Like, oh no, what's going to happen? And the players' confidence drops a little bit. But it works the opposite, right? We played against Fiorentina, who are a great side, and we won comfortably, and that's got to give the players a lot of confidence, and it's definitely given the fans a lot.
100%. Well, here I've got the match momentum as well, and I like this because this kind of shows you what is the pattern of the game. And here you can see that just Leicester were pretty much on top of it for almost all of it. There was a little bit of a period where Fiorentina did get on top. Then we made the changes, and even then, as you say, at this point on, it was more 50-50. But that's really what you want to see. That's great. And you can see that when we were on top, we did well. Maybe actually at the beginning, we probably should have got another goal ourselves. So this is in stark contrast to anything we saw last season. And I think even against the weaker teams like Southampton, they were the only weak teams in the league, but even against them, we never really had the match momentum like this. And yeah, Manny, absolutely right here. This is where Dyche fans were wrong. Exciting, throttling, high intensity, fast switch football. Finally. Yeah. Whether or not that applies when we get back to the Premier League, I don't know, but we'll get there when we do it. Now, I want to just move it on. We're going to move on to maybe my concerns. And I would say that this is actually one of my concerns. So Fatawu was the obvious man of the match. Okoli got serious praise. We gave Skipp a shout out. But it's interesting how at the end of the game, no one really spoke about this player, despite the fact that he was absolutely brilliant in the game. And that was Bilal El Khannouss. So he ran the show. He absolutely ran the show from start to finish. His passing was brilliant. You can see accurate passes, the key passes, the chance created, long balls, shots on targets, dribbling. You saw him putting all those through balls through. He was absolutely different class. So why am I concerned? I guess it's because I think when we're playing you saw in this game, actually, we created a lot of opportunities from the high press, and we are going to continue to do that, I think, as games go on. my expectation, for example, against Sheffield Wednesday is they're going to quickly retreat into a deep block. We're going to be pressing to win the ball back. They're just going to keep pumping it long, and we're just going to pick it up. And we're just going to keep pushing forward and forward. But when people are really deep, what you need is you do need that player who's got that vision, that class to be able to spot a through ball. And, we've been fortunate. We have seen players like that. You got Mahrez, you had Tielemans. Now we've got Bilal. But
Maddison.
will Bilal still be here? Right? Maddison, of course. How could I forget it? Right? And the fact that if Maddison's out might mean that they go for this guy. So that is my slight concern. He was brilliant. If he's in this division, I think just on stats alone, I looked at who scored. He actually got a higher rating even than Abdul, which sounds maybe just because he played for longer. But that is my concern. So what do you make of it? What do you make of it, chat? What happens if he goes?
I said something last night on the call-in show I shouldn't have, and I said that if we keep Bilal El Khannouss, we're breaking the points record. On the pitch, of course, points deductions would stop that. But no, that's. Am I concerned about it? Am I concerned about it? I don't know is the answer, mate. To be honest, because I feel like I want to trust that the club would look to replace him. I want to trust that if Bilal left, the club would look at another creative player like Bilal, who could, he's not going to be as good as Bilal because we're in the Championship and it's going to be hard to pull someone like that. But you need that. I think we need another one of them types of players if he leaves. And I'm going to try and trust the club that they do look at that. I mean, if Bilal left, would you look at Ilizcher? I'm not saying this is good, but he's a similar type of player. Would you like Ilizcher if Bilal went?
I think he'd be a decent replacement. Of course, Marty knows him well, so he would slot into the team immediately. He'd probably hit the ground running. Absolutely. Same with Josh Brownhill. Yeah, of course, we're going to talk. No, but we talk about him for a reason. Like, he's a good player. I think, I know Manny's against it, but he's not against him, I think, as a player. He's just against it from like what he represents, which is an aging player who's on a bit of a long paycheck. But because the thing is, we can talk about Kone as well, but it's like, I still feel that players like that, they're good for this season. We're not really sure they'll be good in the season in the future. But as long as the fees are relatively cheap, we can somewhat worry about that a bit later. We can kind of see it. I think the worst thing is if we get nobody at all, I think would be the problem. But we do, like I said, I think you do need to have a creative player in the team somewhere, because without him, I know there's a lot of talk of Monga, but Monga can beat a man. I still haven't really seen him play that kind of electric through ball. Like, if we look at a lot of these clips, Bilal was the one that was switching play, playing those carefully threaded through balls, playing a quick 1-2. He's just got that intelligence that is hard to teach. And that's funny you mentioned a points record as well, though, because there will be a points record set this season, but it might not be at the top. And I would imagine that Sheffield Wednesday are probably going to beat the record for lowest amount of points. It's not really their fault. Like, I will feel really, really sorry for them. But that means you are essentially going to get inflation in the league, right? So, for example, it wouldn't surprise me if you got 4 teams now that got 90 points, not because they're necessarily good, but if they're guaranteed 6 points, right, you automatically get that head start. So you never know. Maybe the points record will go this season. It might be that a team gets relegated. Like, Birmingham got relegated on 50 points when they went down in our season with them. So you might get a team relegated on 52 or something like there. If we sign Cher, we might have to worry more about broken jaws as well. So.
Broken skulls, if you... Yeah.
I mean, like, your Ragsy said, even if Bilal says I still feel we need the box-to-box central midfielder, we've missed a profile like KDH.
Brownhill is the KDH profile.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, that's the thing, is that he would be the KDH. He wouldn't necessarily be the Bilal replacement. He's not necessarily the playmaker. Right, the Michael Laudrup of the team is the one that I've, when I did that Barcelona analysis. So
they're very similar players. Josh Brownhill and Kinnan Dewsbury Hall are very similar players. They can offer something defensively. They're box to box. They arrive late in the box. They score goals from midfield. They're very similar players. I'm not going to comment on who's better. You would say Dewsbury Hall, of course, but Brownhill outperformed Dewsbury Hall in the Championship, and Dewsbury Hall put great numbers up, but Brownhill scored 18 goals. So, Brownhill's older. He's probably not as good as Dewsbury Hall, but profile-wise, he is just like Dewsbury Hall. So, he's more Dewsbury Hall than Bilal, is what I'm saying. So, if you
I agree. I think
Brownhill
Bilal was
and
more
Cher,
like Tielemans. Yeah. I wish actually, but that was more like Maddison. That's what I think we could really do with, because he hasn't quite got the end product in terms of goals, but he does have the assists. And I think with the forwards we've got, we'll be able to find those opportunities for other people. Anyway, I'm just going to kind of round it out with this. So final thoughts, and I will do just a few concerns after this again. So yeah, we look great. This is for all of pre-season as well. You can tell me your thoughts as well. But I think overall, for all of pre-season, I think we look really good. It's not about the results, really. It's about the fitness. But what you do want to see is cohesion, clear patterns of play, players understanding their role. They seem to be excited and getting on board. We saw none of that last season. We saw real concerns. And it wasn't even just the results, or the results were poor. That final game against Lons was a real slap in the face. But, we just didn't see players understanding what they do. This time round, we're seeing very different story. And that's, I think, really impressive, given that Cifuentes, he hasn't even been here a month yet, has he? Maybe he has, but to do that in such a short space of time is quite impressive, I would say. The team looks way fitter than last season. I think that's a massive difference. You can see that even Fatawu, I think, looks leaner than he did last time round. And Mavididi certainly does. And that's going to be a big difference. If you want to play that pressing football, you've got to have that fitness around with you. We're creating a lot of chances, both from transitions, but also open play. The open play is going to get better, but we're seeing it improve week upon week. Now, questions may remain around some players, but they're going to be less exposed in the championship. So I mentioned I'd be, a bit concerned of Thomas against Philogene, but Philogene's just one player. I'm not going to be concerned about him against Sheffield Wednesday, against Charlton, even Birmingham. I don't know. I'd fancy him against Damari Gray. I think that's a 50-50 matchup. I don't know. I might regret those words, but you'll see that. But as I say, for me, I think losing El Khannouss right now would be the biggest blow.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
What are the concerns and questions? So as I said, it's that midfield creativity. If we don't have him there, if you have to line up with Booba, Skipp and Harry Winks, I mean, fair play to Harry Winks. He played that through ball to, who is it? Makatino, Patson Dhaka there to maybe score. So we've got some people, but it's just not the same. Now, some other questions that I want to ask. So here's a question for you, for anyone in chat. Where has Bobby Reid been? He hasn't been in a single matchday squad the whole of pre-season. I mean, that's not like we're missing him desperately, but he's clogging up the wages. So what's the deal with that?
No idea, mate. No idea. You'd looking at some of the players, Anil, that have played in pre-season, you would have thought that Bobby Reid would have played. Yeah. So that would make me think it is injury. He was away on pre-season. Sorry, he was away with international duty.
Yeah.
Earlier in the summer, so maybe he picked something up there. Bobby he's managed by Steve McLaren as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which is funny. But yeah, I think he's injured, to be honest, mate. But he's not been missed, has he? He's really not been missed. He would be one I think a lot of us would look at in the same sense as Cody, accept as low a fee as possible, just get him gone. He's actually got longer on his contract than Ayew has. Ayew's got 1 more year, and Bobby's got 2. So as it stands, he's around for quite some time.
Everyone's given Ayew pelters, but I've shown it in every single game in pre-season. He's been really good. The way that I don't think he'd be good in every system, but this particular system, he's not going to be a concern. That doesn't mean you don't need a backup, because you can't play 46 games, but he's going to make so many goals for the rest of the players that I honestly think that's the least of our concerns. I think if anything, you look at it, Dhaka's the one to be concerned about, because we mentioned it. We said hits and misses, and we said he could be a miss in this system because you've got to have a good first touch to link up the play, and he just doesn't have that. We can talk about that in a moment. Ricardo, seen him here giving Bobby Reid a slap. Good for Ricardo, but I'm a bit concerned that he's got like another injury. Now, do we really need him this season? Perhaps we don't. Perhaps we'll find this season that with now Hamza looks quite good in this position. I don't think he would be so good at doing it in the Premier League, but I think in the Championship, it wouldn't surprise me if after 10 games, we're like, who's been the revelation of the season? And it's like Hamza Chowdhury scored 2 or 3 goals or something like that with the engine. Because I think just getting up and down and being in the right spaces, you saw him getting involved in the attacks there, and he had a good stint there for Sheffield United. So that could be good. Aluko could also come in as well. At the same time, though, you just want to see one final amazing season from Ricky P, don't you? He's just like, at his best, he was, for me, at his very best, he would have clearly have played above Danny Simpson in even the title-winning team. That's how good a player he was. So something to kind of think about them. And yeah, this comment, yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, Ricardo. I mean, as long as he's here on Sunday for Luke to eat this chili, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But the thing with Ricardo, mate, is, yeah, we got a lucky year out of him under Enzo. He played nearly every game, and we were very fortunate. He can't sign a new deal. Yes, some would call him a club legend. If he isn't a club legend, he's a club icon, and or a club hero, whatever you want to call him. But you can't give him a deal. It would be reckless. It would be stupid. It would be silly to give him a new deal, even if he has a 12-month now period of no injury. Do not give him a new contract, because you can't do. You know that he's going to be injured again. You know it's going to happen. Let him go off to Portugal or the MLS or something like that. See out the rest of his career. Thank him for everything, because he's been a great servant. He also probably could have left when we got relegated the first time. He stayed around and had an incredible season. But yeah, thanks for the memories, Ricardo. But it's time to go. His wages are relatively high. I imagine they're somewhere between 70 and 100 at Premier League level. Of course, it drops in the Championship. That's too much money to be spending on a player that plays about 10 games a season normally on average.
Yeah. Now, actually, one thing that I haven't put here as a concern is a physical midfielder like a Wilfred Ndidi, who it looks like he's going to Besiktas with Oli Solskjaer, who I think has always been a fan of him. So, I'll be sad to see Wilf go. I think he gets unnecessary pelters from a lot of the fan base when he's a guy that's played in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. He played in the FA Cup winning team, finished 5th with him, got us out of one relegation. Now, I think if we were in the Premier League, not having a physical midfielder would be destroyed. But I think the reason why I haven't put it here is I just think that a lot of these games that we're going to play, you remember what it was like last time, right? It's going to be what we saw in the first 60 seconds against Fiorentina. It's going to be our entire team playing in their half, and it's going to be bombarding them over and over. And actually, you need technical players less than dominant ones. Of course, it still helps to have like a tall person to aim for a cross, and I think Wolf did show that he was good in that high 8 position under Enzo, but I don't think it's a massive concern for us. I think we've got enough. I think if we lose him and Bouba Soumaré, that's a bit different. Then I think we probably would need to have someone in there, and I think that's why, like, again, we can say that I said it here as well that I think, I'm not the biggest fan of Boob when he could go, but we know that in the Championship, he's just going to be a step above anyone. So not that much of a concern. But what do you make of that? What do you make firstly of Wilf going? It looks like he's going to go probably today or tomorrow morning. And do you think we need to replace him?
Well, just an update while we've been live. Ben Jacob says, more on Wilfred Ndidi. Besiktas are pushing to finalise a move to try and avoid any hijacks. They want Ndidi in time for their Europa League qualifier against St. Patrick's Athletic. Leicester midfielder also has an offer from Valencia, but they have failed to meet Leicester's valuation so far. Yeah. Saudi sides could yet enter the race, despite no bids to Leicester yet. I was just going to see as well when that friendly is with Besiktas. It is on Thursday. So they want that done by Thursday, which is in 2 days. So, yeah, look, with Wilf, he's got a release clause. He's going, right? Because it's not like with the Bilal stuff where I feel like if Bilal really wanted to go, he would have gone by now. Like if he really wanted to go, he would have gone to Sunderland or Leeds or,
Yeah. He probably has had options, but he wants that really good option, doesn't he?
Personally, I think he will go because I think a Palace or a Tottenham or someone like that will come in for him, or a Leipzig, whatever. I think one of them clubs will come in for him, so I do think he'll go. But with Wilf, it's like just news story after news story. He put the release clause in 12 months ago. I think if he got relegated again, he did want to leave, and that's clearly what's happening. So all the best to him. He's been a great servant to the club. He isn't the player he was 3-4 years ago. Don't care what anyone says. He's not the same player. He's not as good as he once was. It's probably because he's 33.
I agree. It would explain everything. It explained why he hit his peak a lot earlier than maybe expected, and it really would explain why he dropped. It does. You see it with everyone. Like, even last season, Kevin De Bruyne. When you saw him, it was like, this is not the same KDB from like 5 years ago where he was absolutely running the show, right?
It just literally dropped. For some players, it's a gradual decline, but for others, it is you drop off a cliff.
No, it really. It really does. Like, speaking from personal experience, it's shocking how quickly it can go. Yeah. And do you know what's weird? It's shocking even how it can go, even if you're in physically good shape. Like personally, I can run still like quite long distances, but football's so stop-start intense, that kind of, sprint stop and kind of style. You'd be surprised how it kind of goes there. So something to watch out for. But okay, that's moving on. So next one we've mentioned, your favorite man, Richard Kone, new striker. Now, I've gone back and forth on this a few times on this channel because I said that I feel that like, we could get away with not having him, but it's Patson Dhaka. That's the irony. I kept saying to you guys, I thought Jordan Ayew will surprise people, and he scored in pretty much every game he's played in so far. And look at that. I've shown you multiple times where it's not just the fact that he scores, but he's dropping deep. He can turn the ball. He can interchange. He's flexible to play around. He's quite an intelligent player. Fatawu Mavadidi and one of the eights will probably score more goals because we have him in the team because he's good at doing it. But you can't have one player playing 46 games. You're going to need to have people to come in, to keep playing for him. So you then think, okay, it's going to be him and Patson Dhaka sharing that striker position. But one of them really looks quite poor. Now, does that mean you can put Jake Evans there? Well, I think this is why the Kone stuff makes a lot of sense. What do you make of the striker position? And have you slid into Richard Kone's DMs yet?
I have, of course. Of course,
man.
I have, and I did get a like. The like on the comment. He is. I keep saying it. Risk-free, £5 million. For some Championship clubs, that's a risk, but for others, for Leicester, it's not. To be honest, he a very exciting striker. He's the way that he's scored 18 goals in his first full season in professional football. It's the thing of Jamie Vardy dreams, what they're made of. So I think I agree with you. I think Jordan Ayew will start Sunday. I think even if Richard Kone walked through the door tomorrow, Jordan Ayew will start on Sunday, and thoroughly deserved. In pre-season, he scored a few goals. He's been overall very, very good in terms of link-up play and all of that good stuff. Even last season, mate, was Jordan Ayew one of the worst players last season? Absolutely not. He wasn't. People, even I'm not being a hypocrite, right? It's easy to blame him, and last season we did because we wanted the youngsters, and we were kicking off and moaning that Jordan Ayew and Bobby Reid started ahead of them. But Jordan Ayew was not one of the worst players last season. He did quite well at times, and you think about that Southampton goal, in the 90th minute, incredible scenes. But
clutched it.
And this is why I predicted him to be Leicester's player of the season. I'm kind of thinking that you were right this time, though, Anil. But still, if Richard Kone can come in, it's a third option. It's another number who can play up there, and I think he's shown that he can make that step up 7 steps. So why can't he make that step up 1 step to the Championship? And as we keep saying, the gap between the Championship and League One isn't that big, which is why you see Ipswich Town and Sheffield United and Bournemouth in the past doing back-to-back. So get him in, Leicester City, £5 million. If your competition is Swansea City and Preston North End, you should have nothing to worry about. I'll tell you what I am worried about, Anil. If Birmingham do miss out on Chuba Akpom, they might come in for Richard Kone. That could be another club that come in for him. So
it's interesting that it's interesting that they didn't sign him, isn't it? The one thing I will say is that their transfer business is a bit weird, just because they got Kyogo Furuhashi, they got Jay Stansfield. They got Chuba Akpom. Maybe for him because he can play more as a 10, a bit of an odd one. So they may not necessarily want an out and out number 9 in that respect. But you could be right. It's funny how them in Birmingham and Ipswich are having this tug of war over Chuba Akpom. I don't think he's that great, but I can see he's obviously proven in the Championship. That's why they're going for him. What I would say though is maybe if we sign Kone, does that block the route into the first team for someone else? So I've got Jake Evans here. I guess the thing I would say, though, is Jake Evans, it looks like his better position is on one of the wings. And I do think that if he was to play striker, he's quite short. And I think that would hamper him. Maybe not so much in the Championship, but he looks shorter than Jamie Vardy to me, for example, without the electric pace. So I don't know about that. You guys in chat can tell me if you think that's I'm getting my lines crossed there. Let me just bring this up. I think this is an interesting question. what is up with Mads and West Ham? Because this does feel like the will they, won't they of the pre-season.
Yeah, there is an update here from, let me get it up, a Danish journalist who Doc has said is one of the most reliable journalists in Denmark. And he says Hermansen is closing in on a move to West Ham. Earlier in the day, Sky Sports reported that the Premier League club had pulled out of negotiations due to the price tag, but there is still positive dialogue, personal terms in place. And I think there was also something not long ago from Henry Winter. Henry Winter said positive dialogue continuing between West Ham and Leicester over Mads Hermansen, personal terms in place. So it's looking likely it will still go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, but are they going to try and lowball us? Because I find it, James Trafford went for 40 million. I think Mads is better than that. Okay, let's say we're not going to get 40 million, but how much did Brentford sign Kelleher for? It's like 18 million. I don't know. I don't know why this deal hasn't been done already, to be honest with you. But look, he played the whole game, didn't he, in this match? That was the interesting thing. I think some people thought it could be his farewell tour. We'll have to see. I think, we'll be fine if Stolarczyk's there. That's not going to be a problem, but that's something to definitely ask about. I think then just the thing that I want to wrap up with, Jake Evans we've talked about, but Will Alves didn't play any part at all in this particular game. Lewis Page did come on, so that looks like he's rated higher than some of the others and probably is going to be part of the first team squad. What about Will Alves and Michael Golding? I think, has he got injured again? He's the odd one to me that he hasn't. As soon as Marty came in, it didn't look like he'd even gone on pre-season with the team. Is it an attitude problem? I mean, look, the more and more it looks like it clearly has been a purely done for PSR move. I assumed that it was someone that he thought might make an impact in the Championship. But what do you make of these two?
With Golding, I agree that it was probably a part of a PSR swap thingy, to bring the net price down and all of that for Kiernan. Yeah. However, a lot of Chelsea fans at the time did say that he is one of their highly rated prospects. So yeah, that was positive at the time. There might still be a player in there. We've just not seen anything really, mate, to be honest, yet. There was that one preseason game where he had a little bit of involvement. He did okay, but I don't know. I think he's got the frame of a 12-year-old boy. He's really not physical enough, especially for the Championship, in my opinion. But we'll wait and see. Will Alves, he's in the shadow now, of a couple of the younger players, which is a shame. But he's definitely one, especially if Bilal goes. Will Alves could play a big part this season. No rumours of him going out on loan. No rumours of him being sold. So I think he will be a squad player this year. Jake Evans, on the other hand, Anil, I don't think he's ready. Some people say this about Monga for some reason, when it's quite clear Monga's ready. Jake, tell me if I'm wrong, Anil. Every time I've seen Jake Evans in the Premier League and in pre-season, I just don't see enough there yet. I think he needs some more time, I would say, actually, in the under-21s, to be honest.
Oh, interesting. I was going to suggest he might be good with a loan move, at least for a few months.
Is it too young for a loan move, though? Is it too young? Think? Maybe 16. Is it? I think that could be I think that could be slightly too young. I thought he was
17, Jake Evans.
Let's have a look.
You could be right. I guess what I'm just fearful of, though, is that I don't like it when you have players that have clearly got potential but they're not playing. And then
he's 17 next week.
Okay, but that's still pretty young. And then I think you're right. A loan is too risky, but then you're probably right. Another year at worst in the academy, and then he can come on a bit later. I think you're right. He clearly looks like he's got potential, but I think from him, and it's totally understandable, it doesn't seem like he's developed physically yet, which is understandable. He's only 16, right? You wouldn't really expect someone to fully grow into their frame until they maybe even hit their 20s. So that will hold him back. So that's fair enough. I wonder if he will be part of the first team squad. The fact that he wasn't part of the squad at all yesterday kind of made me think that he probably isn't. No. So that's something to kind of think about. We will see. But all right, that kind of wraps up the analysis, but thought I'd give you a shout out. The season, it begins. It begins on Sunday, 10th of August. We'll be doing a watch along. 4 p.m. it is. Interesting kickoff time. Sheffield Wednesday might only have one player on the pitch, which is Barry Bannon. We'll have to see. We feel sorry for them. Are you doing a match preview with any of the Wednesday fans or anything?
Yeah. Why not? Luke and Doc will be doing their match previews again this
great.
season. Not yet. Not
Okay.
this week because Luke's not back yet. But
Mm-hmm.
me and Doc will probably do something. So stay tuned for that. Probably Thursday. I'll get some in with a Sheffield Wednesday fan as well. The last time we had the Sheffield Wednesday fan on was in July, telling us how great Danny Roll is. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see now. But yeah, we'll get him on to discuss everything there. But yeah, Sunday. Match day live, Leicester versus Wednesday. I'm looking forward to it. Football is back, baby. The first of 46 watch-alongs. 46 watch-alongs. Crazy.
All right, let's just go for a few before we wrap up then. You watching the game on Friday?
Sorry to disappoint, guys. I did say I was going to do a watch-along for Birmingham Ipswich, but I remembered I was actually out for a meal, so probably not. I'm sure people will be watching it. It just there probably won't be a watch along. That's all. But yeah, if there's a game on Saturday, is there a game on Saturday for the championship?
Yeah, there are, but not as blockbuster as that one. But we could maybe there'll be like the late kickoff probably. Well, let's take a look and see. There must be something on there.
Yeah, I'm looking now. Yeah,
and let's end it up with this one. Who should be the new captain? And I'll say club captain. And if that club captain isn't on the pitch.
We're not going to say anything to Neil because that is the Fox's Den topic tomorrow night.
There you go. That's good advertising for it. Okay, well, Saints and Wrexham. That sounds like a good one to have a look at.
I will do a watch along 12:30 on Saturday for Saints Wrexham.
Amazing.
There
All
we
right.
go.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed that. The season begins. Catch us on Sunday for first game of the season. Looking forward to it. We'll get the match ratings and everything. Come on, you Leicester. Come on, the Foxes. We'll see you then. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Massive thank you to today's sponsor, Match Bingo. Over 200 grand has been paid out to players so far by taking sports betting, football and bingo and combining them into one amazing app. Make sure to get your bingo card for any Leicester City game in the upcoming season. Click that link in the description or via the QR code on screen.